promoted the fire hazard. And then
I'm going
after the Grand Fire, there was in Pecos area and on the camp outside of Glorieta area. And there was, of course, it's just the summer cabin plants, but and there were not many people there at that time, but over the weekend there was a couple living in a cabin, and they had seen some fellows, maybe younger fellows, and they came and they had albuquerque license and that type of, but they put matchbox covers on each tree trunk, not close, but so everything scooted off. So I'm sorry, but I sometimes think there are some people that are
and so I was just like
that knows of things beforehand.
unloading the dishwasher and loading it.
No,
Well, I was just watching the news that arsonist that they had in Albuquerque.
And tried to get me to help him put it away.
I think in 2016
And then I
when
was
they
like,
started all those
you're
fires that burned down all those
yeah, well, I don't
condos
have
on
to do
Central.
anything. Like, they don't make me.
Burned down a few Starbucks and tried to set fire to
that fella. Yeah, that fella.
They're gonna rank and get him for federal charges. There's no
Anyways,
way around
forgive
that.
me for talking.
Oh, no, that's what we're here for. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special Wildfire Science on Tap this evening. I'm Rin Herman, and I am the Creative District Curator, and I want to just say thanks to everybody for coming, and thank you to all the great folks at Uncorked for hosting us. Before we get started, I want to just share a couple of other events that are coming up that you might be interested in. Tomorrow evening we have the Evening of Arts and Culture, and I brought some flyers about all of the different things that are going on here. You can have this one if you want. And there's tomorrow evening there's events all over the Main Street downtown Creative District area. So please come out and join us for those if you can. And of course everybody knows, I'm sure, Halloween weekend is right upon us. And this year, as in past years, we're having the pet parade as well, which should be lots of fun. So my dog will be coming as a crustacean this year. Anyhow, so we're here this evening to talk about Wildfire. I have lived here for 20 years, and our children were just little guys, and they're now off in college, but they were just little guys when the Cerro Grande came through. And I think right now with the fires out in California, it brings all of those emotions back. It was a very difficult time here in Los Alamos, and I think anybody that's spent any time here has been touched by it.
And I just wanted to, like, kind of another announcement, and also just part and parcel of that, you know, the Los Alamos, a lot of locations were featured in the film about the Granite Mountain Hotshots, called Only the Brave, and it comes out next Friday. And we're gonna have two special, they're gonna help at the Real Deal Theater. They're opening 2 theaters there to see it on Friday at 7.
And it's regular admission?
It is. It's regular admission, but the representatives from the fire department will be there.
You mean tomorrow?
Similar.
Tomorrow? Or
Next Friday,
Oh,
October 20th.
Okay.
And so it's the same day it opens nationally, and we'll just have other special things to commemorate it. We're inviting all the people that were extras in the film and that kind of thing. But we're here to talk about what kind of the science that was triggered by the tragedy that happened at the Yarnell Hill Fire and the Granite Mountain Hotshots, when 19 of the 20 in that crew were killed. And there are people in the current, they were here at Thompson Ridge Fire prior to coming to the Yarnell Fire, or going to fight it in Arizona. So Los Alamos firefighters also knew the crew that lost their lives during that incident. So that kind of spurred us in kind of anticipation of this new film that's coming out to talk about wildland fire and what we do here, because it's an issue here. It always will be.
And it's close to all of our hearts, I think. So there's lots of tie-ins right now. So it's a great time to do this. It's Fire Prevention Week.
That's right.
So I would like to go ahead and introduce, this is the Los Alamos County Fire Department's wildland guy, and his name is Van
Limer.
Limer. So let's all put it up for Van. Thank you very much.
How you guys doing? So basically what I do is, I've been with Los Alamos for 9 years. I kind of started doing things for Los Alamos back in 2013. I rewrote the Wildland FCD for our department, field mitigation FCD for our department. We started field mitigation, if you noticed, over by Station 6, the airport. So it's something that I started doing back in 2001, 2002, and I've been doing it ever since. If you have any questions during any of this, kind of what we wanted to go over right now is, you know, everybody knows that the Yarnell hotshots died in their fire shelters. So fire shelters are kind of these things right here. To us, it's pretty much a shake and bake box. You open this up, it's aluminum foil. After we get done watching the video, and we'll kind of go over some slides and talk about it, we'll open this one up and I'll show you what they are, and we can kind of cut it apart and I'll show it to you. After I do the slideshow, we'll kind of look at all these. But we wanted to start with, NASA has gotten involved after the 19 gentlemen died at the Yarnell fire because of the re-entry, and I'll let the video talk for itself, kind of because of the stuff they do. It's they deal with very high temperatures of re-entry of things from the atmosphere, through an atmosphere into wherever they're landing, which I think this talks about Mars, a Mars rover. So we'll watch this, and I'm sorry if the sound's not good, I didn't bring any speakers, so we'll kind of see how that goes. And if we need to speed it up, we can do that too. Well, there is no sound.
Go to control system and hardware and sound. Maybe we can find it that way.
Oh, I don't know that.
Look at
HDMI
that.
cord that's connected to the projector.
Mm-hmm.
If the projector doesn't have speakers on it, it won't play sound.
It won't. Okay.
If it's an HDMI cord, it connects
It's
all
HDMI.
of it.
Oh, it does?
Mm.
Yeah.
You can kind of see how they're getting in there.
Turn your caption.
So I watched this video a couple of times. I could kind of talk to you about it while
Yeah.
it goes through it. These are some of the Yarnell shots. This guy's from Missoula. Missoula is one of the testing sites for an investigation. Companies that kind of comes in and looks at fires after there's a fatality on a fire. So they came in and investigated where the Yarnell shots died, why they were there, what put them in that position. I hate that you guys can't hear. There's just a lot of information in this. You don't have a speaker here, do you?
If you could hook it up on that side? What if I could? What if we started it at the same time and I could play it on my phone?
Do you have it on your phone?
Oh, wow.
Does it go loud enough?
If you forward it to, I
Put it in some kind of like a
you
base.
can actually
And
put
that
your
really makes a
phone
difference.
into this and then it'll play on both Oh, sides. okay.
Oh,
Wow.
This might be interesting. Let's see how this goes.
It's creative technology.
mm.
Well, I was
So
cold.
warm in
It
here.
used to be you
Yeah,
just
these
turned
are-
on a little
especially
tape
with
machine
light.
and it played. Used to be you just turned on a little tape machine and it played. Now we have all this stuff that we have to figure
Where's
out.
that little bag?
Go back.
I'm happy to see
Like
it.
to connect to the projector.
Okay, man, you might need to forward me that link
Mm-hmm.
to the YouTube video.
Oof.
Even if you copy and paste it into a text, I can open it that way too.
What was that?
Fan.
Frisbee.
Oh.
Is it a fan or a frisbee?
It is
It's a frisbee.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it serves a dual purpose.
Multifunctional.
I have one too. It'll probably get you.
Oh, it is.
Together.
I can't believe you have a real like fan.
Of course I do.
That's fantastic.
It's a fan. Yes, because I went to use the other one, Kelly, and the batteries were out. So this
I was
always
just telling
works.
them about, telling
This one
Mavis all
always
about
works.
that.
I usually
Is that the one I got you?
in my class right after
Yeah.
my first class. I have to walk like 15 minutes from my car. Got a notebook.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are you okay?
Yeah.
Right
I'm
now.
hiding behind this thing and I have my hair over the ponytail.
You're still in the sun. Amazing.
She's actually really helping me. Did you mean to, or you just
No,
did yourself?
I didn't mean to help you.
Do you want this one? Can you use that one, Cal? You want one for yourself?
Got it?
See?
Yes. For me.
Do you need one?
Feel it.
Oh no, I got
got no
Suzette's
extra air.
fan.
Huh?
You wanna get two?
This is fabulous. Marisol, you were not kidding.
She makes things happen.
She makes
Ready
things
at the
happen.
same time?
So much
And,
for air conditioning, huh?
yeah,
Wow.
3.
And
mean,
it's
simple.
gonna start
Why not?
Huh?
buffering.
Yeah,
You ready?
exactly.
It's buffering, hold on.
Uh-uh.
Hers is gonna buffer slower than mine.
There we go, it's starting. It's gonna be a little off, but.
Whoa.
Okay.
I want to go
Also
low
not
tech.
tucked into
I'm tired of this.
I know. It's pretty awful.
NASA Langley, so that's in like where CIA is?
Virginia.
Miami, Virginia.
Yeah. No, I love that.
You love your spice.
I do love that side.
You know what, it is.
Arizona, 2013.
Shake and bake.
Yeah, it's a little
That is.
unsettling.
You'll see why in a minute.
And to
I'm
see
gonna start again
that.
with the lighting down.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do it one more time.
Okay, we're ready. Maybe I ought to start this over.
You ready?
Can you
Oh,
edit
you're
it?
still.
We can edit it.
Yeah.
Just pause it and then cut out the part that you don't want.
And it's going.
Same time?
Yeah, we're good.
The Yarnell Hill, Arizona, 2013. There were 19 firefighters that were battling a wildfire. They can't get away from the fire to their safe zone, meaning their safety route's been cut off. They have to deploy their shelters.
They knew that they had fire on both sides of them. They had fire behind them, and now they have fire ahead of them.
These shelters are only brought out.
So that was the
when
chief of the
There's no other
press
way
conference.
out. So the firefighters will encapsulate themselves in it as the fire blows over.
We're talking minutes when they made this decision. And they were in a very tight deployment area. All of their shelters were pulled, and they all deployed at the same time, and they all died in this location.
We took note of a tragic loss of firefighters in the summer of 2013, and we thought if there is something that we're doing inside of NASA that can be worked in a little bit of a different way and have a bigger application out in the commercial world, we look at that opportunity.
Could we take this technology that we've been developing for a space application and transition it to support the needs of these entrapment shelters?
NASA's been working on a technology that is going to be enabling humans on Mars for exploration, and that's the inflatable decelerator. One of the key engineering requirements for that decelerator is to have a flexible thermal protection system.
There's a lot of common themes here between the flexible heat shield material that we work with here at NASA and the fire shelter.
So flexible TPS systems, it's really sort of like a thermal blanket is what it is. It's something you can compact, stow, put away, and then you use it when you have the vehicle actually enter into the atmosphere. And that's the technology we were working.
We're re-entering the atmosphere and we need to survive that high heat rate for a very short duration of time. So is there any potential that we could use these thermal protection systems to improve the shelters that they're using for these entrapment situations.
Made contact with the Forest Service about 8 months later, and that's where Chief started.
The difference between the technology that we've applied in the two areas, it's the same basic physical science that we're using on both sides, but the materials do change.
3, 2, 1, mark. We've tested over 290 different unique material layups. We call it coupon level testing. The ability to rapidly screen these materials. We've involved a lot of interns and volunteers, and students can get hands-on involvement in these types of projects and turn around 10 samples a day, and just great ability to learn from this test apparatus.
That peak temperature is not the real big challenge for us. The really big challenge, they don't want these systems to be very heavy. They can't be more than 5 pounds. They walk around with them all day. They're packed up on their sides. When they use them, they need to be deployed quickly.
Once we settle on some layups that we think are really worth looking at more carefully, then we pony up and build some full-scale fire shelters. Full-scale fire shelters placed in an enclosure, and there's basically propane torches that are used to simulate a fire environment around the shelter.
We usually have thermocouples to measure temperatures. We'll measure heat fluxes to make certain that the air in there is meeting the conditions that they need to have breathable air. And then we've had an opportunity to actually take the shelters out into a controlled wildfire area, set a forest fire that is a controlled situation, and then take measurements that are more realistic to what the firefighters would actually see in a deployment situation.
It's a life changer in this situation.
The benefit for both groups from this collaboration that we've had with the Forest Service is that NASA has been able to take some of the concepts that the Forest Service has been looking at and apply them and look at how they might apply to our entry systems.
I don't want them to have died in vain. I'm encouraged that we can all learn from this. I know that they would want us to all carry on. They would want the Granite Mountain Hotshots to live on and continue to protect lives and learn those lessons.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody know the average age of the guys that died, the 19 that died?
Oh, but they're in their 20s, right?
27. Yeah.
So
Bunch
did
of
they
kids.
die from heat or asphyxiation?
More than likely both.
Because the
Once-
fire sucks up all the oxygen.
It does, but once you're encapsulated in the fire shelter, and we'll kind of go through that when change this, and it does pull all the air out of the oxygen out of
That's
the
a
air, but
common
it
thing
also
with airplane crashes.
Sorry,
the
you
heat
said the
direct
fire
heat.
pulls the oxygen out of the air?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when they're encapsulated in there, they're protected for a while, and they
For a
can
while,
maintain that
yeah,
oxygen in there for a while.
So
So
they don't have
basically what you
separate- they
do
don't
is
have
you
separate-
crawl inside the shelter, and you lay flat on the ground.
Yeah.
If you have time, you dig a hole with your hand, and it can be 1 inch to 3 inches deep, however you can get it, and you put your face in the ground, and if you have to breathe dirt, you have to breathe dirt. Because if you're up against the dirt, then you're not breathing heat.
Sure.
Until either fire sweeps in underneath,
Wow.
or burns the shelter over, or the shelter pretty much diminishes after it hits 12 to
So
1500 degrees.
these will protect you against radiation heat.
Radiant heat,
But if something burning lands on top
direct
of it,
flaming heat.
forget it.
It'll last for a little while,
Yeah, okay.
but
Like,
not for
For how long?
45 seconds to 2
Yeah.
minutes to 3 minutes.
But the idea is these
They'll melt it.
wildfires usually move so fast, you hope they
Yeah,
just go
They
over.
blow over the top of you. A lot of times when a fire runs in the forest, and I can't speak for Yarnell, I haven't looked at that much, but so who was here 20 years ago to watch the Cerro Grande?
It was a crowd fire.
Yeah, it's crown fire. It moves across the top. So the radiant heat coming from the top to the bottom hit you, and you have to deploy. Then the radiant heat's going to reflect off of those shelters. But if it's a ground fire and it's running through, Yarnell's more oak brush, pinon, juniper. So when it burns through there, it burns fast and it burns hot. So they had direct flame impingement on their shelters as soon as they deployed, with nowhere to go. Last ditch option, and that's what they did. So,
That's what I was wondering, when you go down, you're going on pine needles and leaves and things like that, does it burn and get under there?
so the way that you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to get far enough ahead. So I brought the truck and I have my pack in there. So every firefighter that's on a fire line, we carry a pack with the shelter, and the shelter sits underneath it. So once you feel like you need to deploy, you pull that shelter out, you drop your pack with all your equipment in it, you take a tool. So you go to the clearest area you can find, and about as big as these tables and a little bit bigger is how much of an area you want to clear to mineral soil with that tool. So once you do that, then you deploy the shelter on top of the area that you've cleared, so you're at mineral soil. The other problem too is when a fire comes in, the wind is usually 50 to 75 to 100 miles an hour. You never can tell.